Yeah.
Landmen, we live in ups and downs, right?
I
You make hay when the sun's shining, but you better be planning for the time that it doesn't.
I've worked with Landman for a long time. I had a client for a long time that um he was further into his career than I was. And we were sitting in his office one day and he said, Josh, I hired these guys. They're smart guys. It's, the oil and gas industry is doing really well and we're all making a lot of money. And I tell them all the time, you got to save some of this money now because the oil and gas industry is not always like this. There's going to be periods where it's just not that great. And you need to be able to have put some away so that you can maintain the lifestyle you want. Because it's the hardest lesson these guys to learn because they just think, it's flowing freely and it's great. And it's always hard to see kind of when the end of that period of the cycle comes to a close. So having a good financial advisor, and a lot of times people will think, well, I've got a CPA, and sometimes we do act in that role. Um, that sometimes is based on experience, or just the kind of work that we do. So not every CPA
A lot of
is going to
exposure.
provide, really good financial, act as a financial advisor. Um, sometimes financial advisors, you may have them more in like a non-business role. They might be involved in your retirement planning. They might be involved more in like your personal financial budgeting that you're trying to do for you, your family. Um, they might be involved in helping you have the right kind of insurance coverage.
Hmm.
Now, what I tell all of our clients when we start talking about an advisory team is that I tend to think I'm worth more, like I'm more valuable to you as a member of your team if I am involved in some capacity with your attorney and your financial advisor, right? Because they know stuff. They're there hopefully for a really good reason, and that's because you've put people you trust in place. But your financial advisor, if they're trying to advise you on what to do with, your portfolio that you've invested in, your retirement income you've got going, and they don't know that we're working on a merger or acquisition over here on the other side that's going to take a lot of cash flow, it's really hard for them to give the appropriate advice.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting there trying to figure out how much your taxes are going to be, and your financial advisor is telling you
We
you're
need to,
having a banner year in
yeah,
your investments, and I say, well, all I see is your business income and what comes through on, a 1099 when we get them eventually, then my advice isn't as good as it could have been had your financial advisor and I had a good talk about it.
yeah.
Your
That's,
attorney might be for your estate, and trust stuff. They might know that you're planning on giving or receiving some type of gift or inheritance. And, you know, we might want to structure it for tax purposes one way, and they might have something else in mind. And it's not to say that either one of us are wrong,
it
except we
just
don't know what the other person's thinking.
you don't have the
Right.
knowledge of what's going on
So,
with the other. Yeah.
so we work sometimes with clients who just think, well, I'll know everything as the person and I'll tell you what you need to know. And we just have to trust that that can happen. But I tend to always lean into, like, you're hiring all these people to give you great advice. Let them work together at least a few times a year where they really get to make sure they have a better view of your picture as a business owner, as an individual, so
Yeah.
that we're more valuable to you.
Exactly. Well, when you're a business owner, you have different needs for capital, right? You may be socking money away in an investment account because you know you're going to have to pay taxes quarterly or you're going to have to do a catch up annually. You want that money to be somewhat liquid so you can access it. And if your financial planner doesn't truly understand your business, or you as the business owner, you're a great landman or you're a great technician or whatever it might be, you're not supposed to know all these things, right? You're not supposed to know all the ins and outs of tax and legal obligations and business document requirements and financial planning. But when they're informed, when your advisors are informed, they can make the proper decisions. And so having access to your accountant and your legal advisor from a financial standpoint is critical. I know our financial people are talking to my accountant on a regular basis. They need to understand what's going on. They talk to our CPAs. They talk to all the different people, our legal counsel, whenever we're entering agreements and doing things like that. All that fits together. So it's super critical. I think just the biggest advice for landmen, build that network of advisors because you're going to need it. It's a lot easier to stay on the road than dig yourself out of the ditch.
For sure.
If you're ahead of things, you're going to you'll have a lot less heartache when the times get tough. You're prepared for it, and it can help. It can help, level out the ups and downs that are just evident in the land profession. If you've got your thing straight and you built a little bit of a nest egg.
Yeah, and I think with all this whole conversation we've had so far, it can feel kind of overwhelming when you're taking all this information in. And I'm sure being a landman is similar to being a CPA. You have friends in the industry, right? You have mentors in your industry. The best place to start is just go talk to someone that you trust and let them know, like, hey, I need an attorney. You got anybody in mind?
Yep.
Right. And in that way, it's not all on your shoulders to start from scratch with all this stuff, right? There are people out there who have good relationships with their advisor team. And if you know someone that does, it's a lot easier to just start with someone that you know who knows someone. I mean, that's how the three of us have connected today, right?
That's right.
Use your network.
Yeah, use it. There's value in that for sure, and it's important. I mean, Khalil and I just did a podcast talking about mentorship, talking about skills and networking and all those things that allow you and give you access to people who you can bounce these ideas off of. It's important, and there's value in mentors, and you have to seek them out. Sometimes they come to you naturally, but other times you have to go get them. And there's a ton that you can get back from that if you invest the time in it. And
Sure.
You're not supposed to know everything, right? I was a 23-year-old landman with my S corp, and I had to get my accountant and my legal guy to give me like a bullet point, like, okay, what do I have to do each month?
Yeah.
And I was just checking off a list, and it starts there, but the more accustomed you get to it, the more, years pass where you start to see, oh, I didn't do this, and this is what it cost me. I can make that little adjustment. And before you know it, a few years in, you're running a smooth operation, and then you start to see how you can apply that into other things. Maybe the next thing that you want to tackle, the next business you want to start, or whatever the case might be, it's a lot less daunting because you understand, oh, I can run this business part. I have the people that can support me. Now I can focus on making that a successful business. And if you haven't got that groundwork, man, you can leave something behind and end up in trouble.
I think one of the things we all learn as we get into business and we find success, a lot of times we realize that success in part came because we were proactive with outreach to our network, to our team, right? It's way easier to get started on the right foot if I plan ahead. We see it all the time in our industry. I'm sure you guys do too. You act on it because you needed to, and then 6 months from now you tell somebody you did something and hope that we can figure out a way to make it work the way we all want it to.
Boy, I've got myself in trouble with that. Oh, Fred's got on my tail a bunch of times. Like, now before I do anything, I call Fred. And I call Rebecca and say, hey, I'm about to do this. Is there anything I need to know?
But that's, whether it's your attorney or financial advisor, your CPA, we can all do more and better if we get started on the right path before we're 10 steps down the road, hoping that it'll all work out. Awesome. It doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes you just have to take advantage of the opportunity that's in front of you. And I get that because I'm a business owner too. But if we have that opportunity to say, okay, I've got this opportunity, let's structure it the right way, then we can save ourselves some heartache and make it a lot easier a lot of times.
That's right.
Yeah.